Between 1985 and 2000, something terrifying was happening in the peaceful woods of Allenstown, New Hampshire. 4 bodies were found crammed into barrels, and it was believed that they were the victims of a notorious killer called the Chameleon Killer, Terry Rasmussen. This puzzling case left investigators scratching their heads for years. The discovery of the bodies was genuinely gruesome. The victims had been dismembered, their remains skeletonized. They were tightly wrapped in plastic bags and shoved inside 2 large steel drums, each capable of holding 55 gallons. This chilling scene occurred in Bear Brook State Park, adding to the mystery and fear surrounding the case. This is the twisted story of the Bear Brook Murders. Bear Brook, 15 years apart. 1985, a hunter exploring Bear Brook State Park in New Hampshire made a horrifying discovery. Inside a big metal drum, he found 2 bodies cut into pieces, wrapped in plastic bags, and very decayed. The bodies had been there for a long time, maybe between 1977 and 1985. The investigation went cold, and the victims were buried with a tombstone that didn't mention their names. It seemed like their identities would remain a mystery forever. But then, 15 years later, in 2000, another drum was found in the same area. Surprisingly, it contained 2 more bodies, young girls, in the same terrible condition. It was strange that investigators hadn't found it earlier. The bodies seemed to have been killed around the same time as the first 2, but no one knew who they were or had any clues about the killer. Finally, after 17 long years, the killer's name was revealed. But it took 2 more years to identify the victims, the killer with many names. The investigation intensifies as authorities strive to uncover the identity of the murderer and the identities of the victims. Interestingly, in 2002, there was a mugshot taken of Terry Peter Rasmussen after he was arrested for the murder of his girlfriend, Unsolved June. But it wasn't until 2017 that investigators could unravel the mystery and put a name to the elusive killer. Using advanced genetic genealogy techniques, they discovered that the man behind the Bear Brook murders was Terry Rasmussen. However, the shocking revelation came with a disturbing twist. Rasmussen had already passed away 7 years prior, in 2010, while serving time in prison for the murder of Unsolved June. But this wasn't Rasmussen's first run-in with the law. He had a history of criminal activities under various aliases. In the early 1990s, he found himself behind bars for theft, but was using the name Robert Evans at the time. The Los Angeles Times reported that he had also been arrested in 1988 for driving a stolen vehicle, this time going by the name Jerry Mockerman. Even further back, in 1985, he faced charges of drunk driving and child endangerment. Shockingly, he abandoned a child he pretended to be a father and called Lisa in a trailer park. These details only deepen the mystery surrounding Terry Rasmussen, revealing a pattern of deceit and criminal behavior spanning several years. The complexities of his past and the disturbing connections between his various identities leave us wondering about the true extent of his crimes and the untold stories of his victims. Rasmussen's elusive decade. After his involvement in the 1990s, Terry Rasmussen managed to evade the attention of authorities for a little over a decade. Following these intriguing events, the investigation takes a dramatic turn as the authorities delve deeper into unraveling the identity of the murderer and shedding light on the victims. In 2001, Terry Rasmussen assumed another alias, Lawrence Vanner, while working odd jobs in California. During that year, he engaged in an unofficial backyard marriage ceremony with Unsolved June in Richmond, although no official documents were filed. However, June's dismembered body is shockingly discovered in her basement a year later. Interestingly, defying the advice of his attorneys, Vanner pleads guilty to the murder during his trial, adding a sense of mystery to his actions. Further investigation leads authorities to link Rasmussen, using his fingerprints, to a previous case of child abandonment. DNA testing revealed that he was not the biological father of the child, Lisa, whom he had claimed as his own. This revelation prompts an urgent quest to identify Lisa's true identity and origins. A breakthrough occurs with a sample of Lisa's DNA sent to an ancestry website. The website reveals her mother's name, Denise Bowden. Astonishingly, Denise had only one daughter named Dawn. It is discovered that Denise and infant Dawn had mysteriously vanished from their home in Manchester, New Hampshire, shortly after Thanksgiving in 1983. They were living with a man named Bob Evans at the time. By 2017, Bob Evans had passed away, leading investigators to believe he had murdered Denise Bowden after their departure from New Hampshire. Although there are still numerous unanswered questions and gaps in Evans's history, investigators obtain vital evidence. It is established that Bob Evans, or Lawrence Vanner, had resided in New Hampshire during the mid-1980s. Subsequently, DNA evidence definitively links Terry Rasmussen, the man officially identified, to the bodies discovered in Bear Brook. Heartbreakingly, it is revealed that one of the victims was his daughter. New Hampshire Assistant Attorney General Jeffrey Strelzin declares, "We believe we have our killer. Now we need to identify and try to find all of his victims," leaving an air of suspense and urgency as the search for additional victims continues. Solving Bear Brook, the amateur sleuths. In October 2018, New Hampshire Public Radio released a gripping podcast called Bear Brook, delving into the perplexing and extraordinary case. Despite knowing the killer's identity, investigators were still in the dark about the victims' identities, adding an element of intrigue to the story. The podcast sparked a renewed fascination with the case, capturing the attention of a 34-year-old librarian from Connecticut named Becky Heath. Heath became consumed with scouring the internet in her spare time for possible leads. Her dedication to the research was relentless. She would go to work, then return home and immerse herself in the pursuit of answers. During her online exploration, Heath stumbled upon a post mentioning Sarah McWaters. The post's author claimed to be McWaters' half-sister. The responses to the post were filled with others who believed they might be related to Sarah as well. These individuals shared a common experience of losing contact with their family members during the late 1970s. The family consisted of Sarah McWaters, an infant, her older sister Marie Elizabeth Vaughn, and their mother, Marlise Honeychurch. Heath continued her research and started reaching out to some of the family members who were present at the time. It was during this process that another name emerged: Terry Rasmussen. Remarkably, Honeychurch had been last seen in the company of Rasmussen. Overwhelmed with the significance of this connection, Heath couldn't help but feel that it couldn't be a coincidence. She exclaimed, "There is no way. There is no way that's a coincidence. This is huge." Simultaneously, a genetic genealogist, Barbara Ray Venter, independently began her investigation. Utilizing cutting-edge techniques, she employed the victims' DNA to identify them. This groundbreaking method involved extracting autosomal DNA found inside the cell nucleus. Previously, recovering autosomal DNA from hair strands without roots was considered impossible. However, a forensic laboratory in California had been developing a new approach to reconstructing the fragmented autosomal DNA extracted from rootless hair. The combination of Becky Heath's relentless online research and Barbara Ray Venter's pioneering genetic genealogy work paved the way for significant breakthroughs in the case. The suspense grew as the puzzle pieces started coming together, hinting at a potential turning point in the investigation. The mystery of the fourth victim. After months of perseverance and experimentation, Barbara Ray Venter successfully utilized the innovative method to identify the victims. In October 2018, Becky Heath provided her valuable tip to the authorities. Finally, in June 2019, the victims were officially named, bringing a significant breakthrough to the case. However, a lingering question remains unanswered. Who was the middle child, Terry Rasmussen's daughter, and the fourth victim? While investigators have confirmed through advanced DNA testing that the child was Rasmussen's, they have encountered difficulties identifying the mother and determining whether she is still alive. The quest to unveil the fourth victim's identity continues. In February 2020, a new depiction of the fourth victim was released by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and New Hampshire State Police, aiming to generate leads and gather crucial information. In 2021, investigators made a significant discovery. They revealed that the mother of the middle child had relatives in Pearl River County, Mississippi. The following year, their research led them to conclude that she was most likely a descendant of Thomas Deadhorse Mitchell, a man born in 1836 who would be the child's fifth or sixth great-grandfather. This revelation provides a potential avenue for further investigation and narrows the search for the missing piece of the puzzle. As the search for answers continues, the enigma surrounding the identity of the fourth victim adds a layer of intrigue and suspense to the Bear Brook case. Investigators remain steadfast in pursuing justice and closure for all the victims involved. We are curious to know your thoughts and theories about this perplexing mystery. Share your opinions, ideas, and speculations in the comments below. We value your input and look forward to hearing your insights. Let's engage in a discussion and unravel this enigma together. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more crime content and intriguing mystery stories.